How you doing, Nick?
Hey, pretty good today, Keith. How you doing?
Now, I kind of told you what I wanted to ask you about. We're going to talk about what Trump did Sunday night on the Air Force One, 35,000 feet in the air. He was talking about the sense. And he's saying sense don't make sense. Let's stop production. What do you think about that?
I think it's probably a good idea. Look at the money that we spend making pennies. That money could be better spent helping out the taxpayers. And I think that by eliminating the penny, there's a lot of loose change laying around. I see the pennies laying everywhere. You walk out of the parking lot, into the parking lot from the store, and you see pennies laying on the ground. People just don't want them. It seems like an inconvenience. And the fact that they're now zinc don't make them valuable to collect, in my opinion. So
now, it's going to take an act of Congress, years, maybe decades, to completely stop production on the cent. However, he just said, let's stop minting them. And that's not the same thing, or is it?
I wouldn't think it's the same thing. There's been years where, like in 1975, I believe they didn't make quarters. So they could put a pause on making the penny for a couple years while they debate the issue further. I'm sure we have plenty of pennies. They're laying around everywhere. People have them in their console of their car, in the ashtray, under the seats. It's just something that I think people don't really have a whole lot of respect for, but they are useful, and people leave them at the gas station in the little dish next to the register, so if you come up a penny or 2 pennies short, they just go ahead and take it for you, which is pretty nice.
Now, here's a question for you. Who do you think it's going to affect the most if they literally, in a few years or decades, they actually stop the production of the cent?
Well, I think it would hurt the lower income people, the ones that are not banked. I think that they would have more trouble dealing with their finances if the pennies were eliminated, because every penny to them is more valuable than, say, pennies to someone who's got lots of money that, they don't care about their pennies.
Now, if they stop making the cent, are you going to be able to give your 2 cents in videos?
I'm not really sure.
It's definitely an interesting question. Now, there are a lot of things, the economy, prices will have to change. Some stuff will go up a couple cents, some stuff will go down because there won't be no penny. However, they can still, maybe this is I guess you could say, a push towards CBDC, where it's all electronic banking, because you can still use pennies that way, can you not?
Yes, you could still use pennies in that manner, and I think they are moving towards that from what I've seen about Elon Musk and Doge going through. There's many payments that go out and they can't track where they go. They don't have return checks coming back to say who cashed them and where. So I'm thinking it would be a better way of keeping accounting on the American tax dollars.
So the CBDC, this electronic checking, I think is what they call it. I'm pretty sure it's CBDC. I could be wrong. That is just another way for the government to keep track of you, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and I think it would put some hardship on the people that are not computer savvy, that have the old flip phone still, or they don't even have a cell phone. Those people would be the ones that would be totally lost in a new economy where we just went to digital money instead of actual currency like we have now.
I did not get a smartphone until my kid said, "Here, Dad, take this." And that was my first smartphone. So I'm still learning a lot. Now, we was talking about people that were unbankable. Do you have any reason why someone would be unbankable? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'm thinking that there's minimum requirements for some bank accounts, and their cash flow income is not consistent.
So basically, you're saying they're unbankable, and I'm going to kind of break this down because you didn't get into it detailed enough. They could be unbankable because they have bad checks written on several banks, so they're not going to do it. They don't have let's say they're not a citizen, they don't have the proper ID. Or even more so, a lot of their money is earned through various nefarious ways, like a marijuana shop they cannot have a bank account because it is not insured by the FDIC. So they have to, I guess, I don't know how they bank. So I guess people would have to learn how to become bankable. A lot of it, I think, has to do with credit, though.
Yes, the credit rating these days mean a lot. You know, you get a better discount for insurance. For a mortgage, you get a better interest rate on a mortgage by having a good credit rating. And there's many people who, through no fault of their own, end up with medical bills that they can't pay because of our insurance and medical costs these days.
I was thinking more, I actually said the wrong word, not credit, credibility. Because if you've bounced a lot of checks, no bank's going to want to touch you. There's
Right.
no doubt about that. And some people just can't afford it. And there's the others out there. The small percentage of people that are like, cash is king. I will not use a credit card. I will not get a bank. They don't want the government to know what they do. Those people are unbankable because they choose to be.
Correct.
I mean, when I go to a restaurant, I sit down at a table. I'll pay with a credit card, but it's always cash when I leave the tip. I want it to go right to the waitress, not to the entire staff and get divvied. They didn't serve me.
Right. And I heard yesterday that there's places that are only accepting, they're not accepting cash for tips anymore. They're having it put on the card, and that way, exactly like you said, they can track it that way.
It's another way the government keep an eye on y'all folks.
That's
now,
right.
If they did stop production of the penny, would you think that the U.S. Mint would have to have, or the U.S. government, whichever, would have to have some type of buyback program over a period? I mean, they can't just stop them. It's still money. It's still monetized.
Right. They would have to have a period where people could turn in their pennies for cash, bring them into the bank. Of course, they'd have to be rolled up. I would imagine the bank's not just going to take a bunch of loose change.
Now, let's get into the FOMO part of it. A lot of people, I've seen on eBay, I've seen proof cents selling as high as $75 for the 2025 since Trump made his announcement up in the air on Air Force One. No pennies getting minted, basically. What do you think about that? People selling it that high?
I think people are just taking advantage of other people, and that's the way the world's worked for decades and years, because someone's going to go out there and try to take advantage of a situation thinking they're going to make a lot of money. And I can't see the value of a proof set from 2025 in 10 years being worth anything more than, you know, just the value of the pennies, if not just maybe a little bit less.
So you have also, I've seen on eBay, the P&D sets are going anywhere from 4, which is almost respectable for an uncirculated P&D set. But I've seen certified ones as high as $50 for a P&D set from 2025 on the cent.
Wow. That's a pretty high markup for who is ever selling them. And I think the mania will wear off and people will just realize.
Yeah, I think what I'm getting at, guys, don't FOMO your 2025 cents. Don't fall into the trap. You will get your 2 cents worth eventually. It all makes sense. And that's a big play on those cents. But, and seriously, don't FOMO because the prices will come down. A lot of people out there just hyping right now and trying to make some money off of the people that are unknowing. Not everybody knows the process of eliminating the cent or stopping the cent, cutting it all together. So basically, you don't want to get FOMO'd. My question to you is, how long do you think it's going to take for the cent to get out of circulation?
Well, I would think that if they stop minting them now in the year 2025 and they mint no more, I would say it'd take probably to 2030 to be totally eliminated from the system.
Yeah, you still get wheat cents in circulation too. Now, when I said stop minting the penny, I meant stop making the penny altogether, never make it again. I didn't,
Right. Because
they did stop for 2025, but we don't know if they're going to bring it back. We don't know what kind of rules are in place. That's probably an executive order that he is going to issue or has already issued to stop minting the cents, but it doesn't mean he can eliminate the cent.
Correct. I believe you're right there.
So, do you think that a lot of people are going to have trouble adjusting?
Yes, I think it will be a big adjustment for people to have to deal with not using the penny and they're paying their bills. And you can still write a check for that amount, but like you said earlier, they're going to have to adjust prices. And I think things will then be, the lowest price will be 5 cents.
Now, I read an article on the internet the other day. It said the average grocery store is going to make at or around $147 extra a year by eliminating the cent. Obviously, they're going to be marking some prices down along with some being up if that's the case. But what do you think? Do you think that's an accurate guesstimation?
Well, I guess for a guesstimate, it's probably as good as anything else. You know, we'll have to wait and see how it does work out. But like you said, they're going to raise some prices up, some prices down. They're going to try to average it out so it comes out at the nickel.
What do you got to say, going back to the FOMO, for those people that are actually paying this big money on eBay? What do you got to say to those people?
I think they're going to realize later on that it was folly on their part to go ahead and invest in that without having any information about how it's all going to transpire. I think that they're just getting ahead of themselves, and hopefully they'll be able to sell them in the future, but I think they're going to lose their money. Okay, I'm guessing that I wouldn't buy them. I wouldn't touch them at that price. I think it would be a waste of money, and people are going to realize that later on, and then they're not going to talk about it to their friends. They're not going to go out and say, hey, look, I just bought a set of proof pennies for $75, and their friends are going to look at them, well, you could have spent that money a lot better on something else. So I think that they're going to get a rude awakening later on.
So basically you're saying don't do it.
Don't do it. Stay away from them.
Well, I do appreciate your thoughts. I know you're more of into silver and stuff, and we never even mentioned in this video. What brings you in today?
Well, I was just around the house this weekend and looked for all my loose change and thought, well, I bring in the loose change. I've been saving zinc pennies and dimes. I got little different spots I put all my loose change, and I decided just to round it all up, bring it in, and trade it in for some real money.
So, and the reason why I wanted to ask you this now before the video ended, you had brought in change and you're looking to get some silver for it, some real money for it. With these cents up in the air, what the United States penny or cent is worth, or not worth, what its future is going to be, you're bringing them in and still spending them.
Yes. Might as well spend them now and clean out the change I have laying around the house so I can have real money in its place. And then...
Okay, one last question for you before we wrap this up. Aren't you worried about losing money if the cent does go up in value?
No, because I don't believe the cent is going to go up in value. And those folks that are paying the extra high prices for pennies are just, I don't know, living in the clouds, I guess. So I'd say don't do it.
Okay, so just to wrap up the video, your final thoughts on the United States president. What was he thinking? I mean, saying, let's eliminate the cent. There's a lot of work that's going to go into that.
Yes, there's a lot of work that's going into it, but I think in the long run, the savings for the taxpayer will outweigh all the problems and issues that we have getting rid of the penny.
Well, guys, thanks for watching, and please hit the like button. It really helped the channel out, and have a great day.